Two tiny wings, eyes big and yellow, horns of a steer. What a lovable fellow! From head to tail, he's royal purple pigment, and there, voila! You've got a Figment. Figment has been a part of my Disney experience since I was born, and today we are taking a deeper dive into the lovable purple dragon himself and the meaning he has for me. Let's start with Figment himself, and Figment has had a long history with Disney. The first time we saw Figment at Walt Disney World was when the Journey into the Imagination attraction opened on March 5th, 1983. In the original attraction, we are introduced to the Dream Finder, a very special character for many of us who love Disney. He creates and introduces us to Figment and takes us on a ride teaching Figment how to use his imagination. Figment was at Disney for 7 years before I was born, so by the time I got there, he was already a well-established figure at Disney. Even though he was there for many years before I was born, I still remember riding that ride as a kid. I remember going through the different rooms and seeing the Dream Finder on his flying machine and seeing the different lightning and the stars and the sky and the universe all around him and learning about the imagination. It's an attraction that many of us remember extremely fondly. I still remember riding that ride, seeing Figment and hearing the song, being introduced to the Dream Finder, and going from room to room being amazed with everyone. My family and I would experience Journey into the Imagination over and over and over again, and we all smiled every single time. There was just so much detail in that ride. I know it's a 90s ride, and you can definitely tell by looking at some of the older footage, but you can see clocks and hands clapping and portals to other dimensions, all sorts of things. There are so many scenes that I remember. One in particular, I remember Figment touch the wall with a paintbrush and the whole canvas of the wall would change, and it was a humongous wall. It was so cool to see. I remember there was a scary room as well, but coming from someone as a child who would close my eyes whenever we passed by those floating eyes in the Haunted Mansion, none of Journey into the Imagination frightened me. You would continue on to room after room, and there was one in particular that my family loved, the paper mache room. It was so cool to see all of these figures basically made out of paper. Very little was anything but paper. There was even a carousel made of paper. It was really cool. Throughout the attraction, we would see the Dream Finder a few times. Sometimes he would even change outfits, and we went into this one big room where you could see Figment in all sorts of different roles. In this room, on the walls above you, you would see Figment as a rock climber, or as a weightlifter, a scientist, or walking on the moon, or as a superhero. Just about every role you can imagine, Figment was there. As a child, this was really cool to see Figment in all of these different roles, but in many ways it inspired me as well. I didn't fully understand it as a kid when I was riding, but now that I look back, that inspired me to just chase my dreams. In many ways, Figment told us that we could do anything we put our mind to, just as long as we're willing to work hard enough to achieve our dreams. Be a rock climber, a scientist, walk on the moon, and so many other things. In some small way, I wonder if this little purple dragon inspired me to do what I'm doing today. At the end of the ride, on the upper floor, there was a rainbow walkway. You could walk underneath there, take a picture. I know I have a picture with me and my family on that rainbow walkway somewhere. We'll have to find it in the future, but what a great memory. Disney continued to inspire guests for 17 years until Disney decided to refurbish the attraction in 1999. Even though the refurbishment was well intended and it had been 17 years, it turned out to be a mistake because Disney took out some of the most important scenes, especially those with Figment and all of the Dream Finder. Figment had inspired so many over those 17 years, and guests started to complain about the refurbishment. The complaints became so loud that Disney changed it yet again only 3 years later in 2002 and added Figment back as the star of the show. The update helped a little bit, but it didn't capture the imagination in the same way. There are many in our Disney family who would love to see the original attraction come back, and while the chances of that are near zero, some refresh is clearly needed. 2019 marks the 17th year that the updated attraction has been open at Epcot, and it aligns perfectly with the update schedule for that attraction and the update coming to Future World in the next few years. There was a time not too long ago where I was quite worried about the future of Figment at Walt Disney World. I thought that Disney would get rid of him completely, and while it may still happen, I really doubt it. Disney has been making Figment a big part of merchandise all around Walt Disney World in recent years. We're seeing him on topiaries, mugs, shirts, phone cases, and so much more. They've even updated his design to give him a more modern look. I personally prefer that style Figment right there, but as long as they have Figment, I'm happy. For many of us, Figment captures our imagination and reminds us of a time when the park was brand new. It's true we haven't seen as much Figment as we may like at Future World in Epcot, but I have a feeling he may just have a much bigger role in the future of Future World. I envision two different scenarios that Disney may take with Figment. I would imagine with the update to Journey into the Imagination in the not-so-distant future, we will continue to see Figment as a part of that ride. Perhaps all about Figment and the imagination, that would be amazing, or a part of another attraction, perhaps Inside Out, and then Figment can be kind of the guide taking you through with imagination. Another option that I would really like to see Disney implement with the future of Future World is to see Figment in his starring role as the mascot for Future World and put him all over the new world. I can envision seeing his shadow fly across the top of a building, or hearing him giggle from behind the trees, or maybe see him paint on the ground as you walk by. I can envision them adding so much Figment to the future of Future World. In addition, perhaps they'll add Figment to the entrance sign to each attraction. Maybe for Mission Space he's wearing a helmet, like a space helmet. For Spaceship Earth, perhaps he's got a paintbrush. For Test Track, he's sitting in the test car, and so much more. To give you an idea of how much my family loves Figment, if you look back in time to Miyuki, the Japanese candy artist in Japan who is now retired, we saw her on several occasions, and one time she picked my brother to create a piece of candy, and she said, "What would you like me to make? You can do a panda, or a penguin, or a flamingo," which was her specialty. He said, "How about Figment?" And she said, "I don't know what Figment is." He sure enough had a small Figment plush, and Miyuki made a Figment candy for my brother. That is how much we love Figment. If you've been going to Disney for years, you probably understand the appeal of Figment and how much we love him, but if you haven't been going for that long, I can totally understand if you aren't really familiar with who the Purple Dragon is, but now you have a better understanding of what he represents. I truly hope we see more Figment in the future, whether it's in his ride all around Future World, or maybe, just maybe, as a meet and greet in the future. That would be a dream come true. Disney, please, Figment meet and greet, please. Those are a few of my thoughts about Figment, the Purple Dragon of Walt Disney World, and why I and my entire family love him so much. Let me know your thoughts about Figment in the comments below. Do you love him, or maybe you really never went on that original ride and are now just learning more about him? Let me know your thoughts all about Figment in the comments below. Thank you so much for being a part of the magic with me. Until next time, have a magical day, and don't forget to let your imagination soar.